The world changes in one moment, not with fire, not with impact, but with a distortion in the morning sky, so subtle that only machines notice it first. At 6:17 a.m. Eastern Time, in the stillness before sunrise touches the East Coast, a silent alert flashes across deep space monitoring screens. A shadow has entered the region beyond the moon. Not a rock, not debris, something shaped with intention. Then another, and another, until the count reaches 600. Astronomers stare at their data, seeing the same impossible pattern repeating in every frame. Identical objects moving as if connected by an invisible thread. No engine signature, no propulsion noise, just motion, smooth, gliding, deliberate. For a long breath, no one speaks, and in that silence, something irreversible begins. Phones vibrate on nightstands across the country. Screens brighten bedrooms still half dark. The news headline is short, hesitant, almost unwilling to exist. Unidentified formation detected near lunar orbit. Most people scroll past it, assuming it's an error, a glitch, a misread, something the world has seen before and forgotten. But at 6:32 a.m., every device connected to a major communication line freezes, then blinks, then shifts to the same message. White text, black background, no signature. Earth, you have 14 days to surrender. The message appears in Tokyo kitchens, Brazilian subways, European airports, American bedrooms. It feels less like a threat and more like a verdict. Coffee cools in mugs. Car engines idle as drivers stare at their dashboards. Subway doors stay open, trapping crowds between movement and paralysis. For a full minute, the planet stops breathing. A second broadcast forces itself onto every screen, overriding streaming platforms, emergency alerts, even offline devices. Images emerge, grainy at first, then sharpened beyond any known resolution. Figures, humanoid in outline, but built from geometry rather than anatomy. Plates of metallic angles forming bodies taller than any known species. Faces replaced by pale luminous slits, shifting like slow breaths. They are motionless, silent, as if posing for identification. Then the message repeats. 14 days. Surrender. No negotiation. The screens cut to black, not like a power loss, but like someone closing a curtain. The air feels heavier across continent and ocean. At 7:45 a.m., airports begin grounding flights. Pilots report interference rippling through navigational systems. Air traffic controllers speak in clipped, steady voices, but their knuckles whiten on the microphones. Military bases seal themselves within minutes. Radar stations swivel toward the sky. Whether satellites send back distorted scans, the alien formation showing up as a blank void, as it absorbs not only light but information. In homes, people turn their televisions louder, hoping clarity will arrive with volume. But emergency networks broadcast only controlled uncertainty. No hostile action detected. Remain indoors. Await federal updates. Each sentence feels thinner than the one before. By 8 a.m., markets halt before even opening. Traders stand on the floors of stock, exchanges staring at frozen tickers. Phones ring without answers. The hum of morning traffic becomes fragmented, unsure, like a rhythm losing its beat. Across the East Coast, the sky looks ordinary, blue, quiet, deceptive. At 10:14 a.m., a NASA spokesperson appears on national television. Her voice is calm, measured, practiced, but her eyes betray something deeper. She explains that the objects are not orbiting. They are maintaining distance, an exact, precise distance from Earth matched to the planet's rotation. A leash, a perimeter. Her words hang in the air. They are observing, tracking, mapping. It is a kind of warfare no one trained for, one where silence is the enemy's sharpest weapon. People gather in public squares. Some lift their faces to the sky, as if expecting the ships to become visible. But the sky reveals nothing, only emptiness that feels heavier than presence. Rumors spread about global reactions, border closures, government bunkers filling, submarines vanishing beneath the waves. No one knows which rumors are true. At 11 a.m., A briefing emerges from the Pentagon. Cameras click in a room where tension has become its own gravity. Navy SEAL Admiral Ryder Hale steps to the podium. He does not read a statement. He does not consult notes. He simply looks at the ceiling, toward the unseen ships, and speaks in a voice that sounds like steel under pressure. They gave us 14 days, he says. A pause. Measured. Deliberate. But if they come down here, they won't last 14 seconds. It is not a challenge. Not bravado. Just the mathematics of a species built to resist extinction. Reporters exchange glances, not because of the words, but because Hale believes them completely. By 12 p.m., satellites show a subtle shift in the alien formation, a tightening of the pattern, a small rotation, perfectly synchronized across hundreds of ships, a gesture that feels like a clock hand moving forward. The countdown has begun long before humanity understands the rules. In neighborhoods across the country, people step outside and stare upward, even though there is nothing to see. They do it instinctively, as if some ancient part of the brain recognizes a predator hidden behind the daylight. The world quiets, not in fear, but in expectation, the kind that settles into the bones, telling every living thing that change has already arrived. And in that expanding silence, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The sky no longer belongs to Earth. Day one begins with stillness that feels unnatural. Not the quiet of dawn, but the quiet of a world holding its breath. The alien ships remain motionless above the atmosphere, arranged in geometric precision. They neither advance nor retreat. They simply wait. At 2 p.m., satellite providers report the first wave of interference. GPS markers drift by fractions of a degree, then by miles. Commercial airlines lose navigation lines across their screens. Pilots rely on visual bearings, guiding aircraft with the same instinct used decades before automation. On the ground, phones take longer to load pages. Search results flicker. Maps freeze mid-scroll. People refresh screens repeatedly, as if trying to force normalcy back into existence. The U.S. government issues a brief statement. Maintain calm. Shelter where possible. No hostile actions detected. But the public no longer trusts silence. Not after seeing the message in the sky. Grocery stores fill in minutes. Carts rattle against each other as people move through aisles with a quiet urgency. Not panic. Not chaos. Just instinct. The understanding that the systems they depend on now stand on uncertain foundations. Bottled water disappears first. Then canned food. Then batteries. Cash registers flicker, their screens dimming as payment networks struggle to stay alive. Outside, the air feels heavier than it should, like the atmosphere itself is tightening. By 9:22 p.m., on the second night, the first cyber pulse strikes. Not a weapon, a diagnostic sweep. Every device connected to the internet receives a faint static echo. Screens ripple with distortion, as if a hand brushed across the digital surface. Then banking apps freeze. Social media collapses. Websites load as blank pages, white and empty. People look around their living rooms and realize something profound. The world has never been this quiet in the digital age. The glow of screens disappears from apartment windows. The city feels older as though pulled backward through time. Emergency radio becomes the only thread left. A single voice speaks through static. This is a national broadcast. Maintain order. We will provide updates. But the voice sounds distant, pre-recorded, like it belongs to a world that has already moved on. For days into the countdown, the psychological strain becomes visible. Streets grow emptier. Cars remain parked and used. Fuel conserved for emergencies not yet defined. People speak in whispers as though loud voices might draw attention from the sky. Rumors replace facts. Some say missiles have been launched. Others say a ship landed in the Pacific. Others claim governments are hiding the full truth. No rumor is confirmed, but each shapes the atmosphere. At sunset, highways appear frozen in time. Rows of vehicles motionless beneath fading light. Gas stations glow weakly, their pumps offline. A few people sit inside their cars, heads resting on steering wheels, try to understand a world suddenly stripped of direction. As day 6 arrives, The alien ships remain suspended above Earth like a second layer of sky, not moving, not signaling, only observing. Humans begin projecting their own fears onto the silence. Is this mercy? Is this calculation? Or is this the patience of a predator waiting for the right moment? Neighborhoods split into quiet factions. Some households keep lights off, windows covered. Others gather outside around fires, whispering news from battery radios. Some simply sit on porches staring upward, waiting for the sky to provide an answer. But the sky offers nothing. By day 9, the world enters a functional standstill. International flights remain grounded. Most national power grids operate at partial capacity, flickering unpredictably. Hospitals ration energy. Machines hum with low, nervous tones, every vibration carrying the fear of imminent failure. Supermarkets operate under guard. Shelves look skeletal. Signs tape the doors red. Limit 1 per customer. Cash only. Hours restricted. People begin to understand what fragility feels like when the systems that once felt infinite suddenly collapse to near zero. At night, cities lose their glow. Only emergency lights break the darkness, pulsing faintly like distant heartbeats. Some families sleep fully clothed, ready to flee at a moment's notice. Others stay awake, listening to the shifting silence for hints of change. Every radio update grows shorter, the voice more monotone, the static louder. On day 10, at 7:58 p.m., a low vibration trembles through the sky. Not sound, a pressure, like the air tightening around the planet. The alien ships adjust their position. A small shift, barely perceptible, yet it moves through humanity like an electric jolt. People in darkened living rooms sit up straight. Drivers on empty roads stop their cars. Guards at bases freeze mid-step. The formation begins descending, not toward cities, not toward bases, but toward the oceans, sliding into cloud cover with an elegance that feels predatory. Atmospheric sensors detect a change in pressure. Marine radar shows shapes as large as mountain ranges entering coastal waters. The world watches, unblinking, unmoving, because for the first time since the countdown began, the invaders are no longer observing. They are approaching. The waiting ends. The next phase begins. And the air grows colder with the knowledge that whatever comes next will rewrite the final chapters of these 14 days forever. Day 11 begins before dawn, under a sky that feels too heavy for its color. The air is still. The wind is absent. The planet seems to wait. At 5:12 a.m., radar station from California to South Korea triggers simultaneous alarms. The alien fleet, motionless for nearly 2 weeks, breaks its perfect formation, not in chaos, not in attack, but in a deliberate, synchronized descent. Hundreds of ships tilt, rotate, and fall into new positions. Some slide downward into the oceanic cloud belt. Some sweep laterally across continents, casting shadows long enough to stretch across entire highways. Others move closer to the upper atmosphere, scanning as though reading every heartbeat below. The sound is not a roar. It is a vibration, low, distant, like something enormous shifting its weight. Power grids fail in waves. Lights flicker, then die. Entire coastlines fall into darkness, leaving only the cold glow of emergency strobes pulsing the night like faint distress signals. Communication lines collapse into static. Radio hosts speak into microphones that no longer broadcast. Dispatch centers flicker in candlelight. Hospitals switch to reserve power, their halls lit by wavering yellow bulbs. The world becomes a collection of quiet islands separated by darkness. By day 12, humanity's breath grows shallow. Jets remain locked on runways. Pilots sit in their cockpits, helmets on, waiting for orders that never fully arrive. Submarines drift silently beneath the oceans, their crews staring at sonar screens lit with moving shapes too large to comprehend. Despite the tension, Earth does not fire. No missile, no warning shot, nothing. The ships hover lower than any previous day, positioned with surgical precision along tectonic lines, coastlines, and major population centers. Not attacking, but analyzing. For the first time, humanity confronts an enemy that reveals everything through stillness and nothing through action. People whisper instead of speak. Children sleep in basements. Adults watch the skies through cracked curtains. The psychological strain stretches thin. Every hour feels heavier. Every night feels colder. By nightfall of day 12, the world's major militaries remain on total alert. But the threat is not bullets. It is the unknown. The morning of day 13 begins with a quiet that feels artificial, as though nature itself refuses to disturb the world. At 8:41 p.m., a single alien vessel breaks from its group and descends toward the Pacific. The U.S. Navy destroyer Horizon tracks it approaching from the west. The ship glows faintly, a white pulse running across its surface like breath. Its panels shift like cold metal tiles, adjusting to examine the vessel beneath it. The destroyer's crew waits for an order. The alien ship stops less than a kilometer away. A message leaves the flagship of the Navy's SEAL Command, carried by encrypted channel. Stand down or be engaged. For a full 5 seconds, the alien ship does not move. Then it drifts closer. No sound, no signal, just proximity, deliberate and absolute. It is the closest any ship has come to human forces since the countdown began. And Earth understands. This is not an attack. It is a test. Day 14 arrives without sunrise. The sky washed pale by the glow of hundreds of ships hovering low enough to see their edges. A faint hum vibrates the air as synchronized pulses emit across the electromagnetic spectrum. Car alarms echo across empty cities. Windows tremble. Birds fall silent. At 6 a.m., the entire fleet releases a second tone, longer, deeper, more resonant. The world freezes. Breath stops. Time seems to hold still. Then a voice breaks through emergency radio frequencies. Not alien. Human. Recognizable. Admiral Hale. His tone is cold steel, measured, unshaking, absolute. You gave us 14 days. We'll give you 14 seconds. Those 14 seconds begin ticking like a clock the world can hear inside its own chest. 1 second, U.S. missile systems unlock nationwide. 2 seconds, fighter jets ignite their engines, heat waves rippling across silent airfields. 3 seconds, submarines adjust depth, aligning their torpedo tubes toward unknown targets. For seconds, European, Asian, African, and South American militaries lift their defenses in unspoken unity. 5 seconds, every satellite that still remains functional orients toward the sky. 6 seconds, armored divisions power up, their engines rumbling in distant valleys. 7 seconds, operators flip final switches with hands that do not tremble. 8 seconds, no one speaks, no one breathes. All humanity listens to the ticking. 9 seconds, the ships stop their descent. 10 seconds, their glowing surfaces dim, analyzing, recalculating. 11 seconds, a ripple moves through the fleet, like a decision being shared silently. 12 seconds, human weapons remain locked but unfired, the world balanced on the edge of annihilation. 13 seconds, the alien ships turn slightly upward. 14 seconds, they stop entirely. Earth stands ready, united, unbroken. For the first time since their arrival, the ships begin to retreat. A slow ascent, deliberate, silent. No attack, no retaliation, no message, just a withdrawal into the upper atmosphere, where the daylight thins into darkness. Then higher, past aircraft lanes, past weather satellites, toward the cold frontier where Earth's reach ends. One by one, the ships vanish into the void beyond the moon. No explosion, no farewell, no threat, just absence. As the last vessel fades, the world remains in darkness. A planet without power, without stable communication, without certainty, but still standing. Cities flicker back to life slowly, block by block. Generators hum like exhausted lungs. Radios crackle with voices reunited after days of silence. Humanity steps outside, staring upward at an empty sky that now feels impossibly vast. People expect fear, but what comes instead is quiet realization. They did not come to conquer. They came to measure something far more fragile, the resolve of a species that refuses extinction. Humanity survived the longest 14 days in its history not because of its weapons, but because of its unity. In the fading glow of emergency lights, on streets still bearing the weight of tension, a truth settles across the world like dawn. Survival is not the absence of fear. Survival is standing in front of it and refusing to fall